Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with more news, more WNBA news. Watching the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever game the other day. Now, this game has always been a heated rivalry just because of the media scrutiny or the media hype up of just the two teams. Because we know that Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark have been rivals since probably middle school when they used to play against each other all the time. But starting off with the LSU and the Iowa games, especially when they did the "you can't see me" to each other, and it was all this different scrutiny and media coverage around it that hyped up this, this rivalry that created more buzz around the WNBA and college women's basketball. It was a big thing. It was very important for the ascension of NCAA women's college basketball and for the ascension, especially of the WNBA. Now, this rivalry just took another turn yesterday when, of course, the Sky and the Fever met up, especially after their rookie years going against each other a couple of times. But this year, I thought it would be different, and it felt different at the beginning because there wasn't a lot of physicality, there wasn't a lot of pushing, there wasn't a lot of trash talk. It was just basketball, and it was pretty competitive until probably the second half. But losing, 93-58 is a bad look for the Chicago Sky. They don't have enough scoring, which I believe they miss Kennedy Carter a huge amount. They lack toughness. They definitely lack an identity. Haley Van Lith I thought would be a starter, but she wasn't. She was on the injury report, but she ended up getting into the game towards the end. But nevertheless, this game should never got out of hand that way, and it got pretty ugly after Angel Reese drove to the lane for a layup, and she got flagrantly fouled by Caitlin Clark. Now, as you heard from the comments before this video, Caitlin Clark, tried to explain herself on the foul, but it just rubbed me the wrong way in terms of the approach, or it seemed sarcastic to a way, or it seemed like she was just totally innocent in the situation. So this foul was upgraded to a flagrant one after they went to the board for unnecessary contact. And you could see the look on her face was like, so what you gonna do about it? And Angel Reese got pretty upset, and they had to separate the two, mostly Angel Reese. But the interview that she had was very nonchalant and arrogant. And it kind of gave me, shades of Aaron Rodgers, something he would say, or something that, he would kind of shrug off as you guys are overplaying this. It was just a basketball play. It wasn't a basketball play. When you push somebody with one hand, you don't even reach for the basketball. It's obviously not a basketball play. That's a background, I forgot what they call that word. It was basically, it was bush league, what she did. Nobody needed to have that in the game, especially when you were already winning. It was no need for it. But it seemed like there was some hatred there on both sides, but definitely on Caitlin's side, especially with that situation, because it's just, I don't know if that was choreographed from the league just to make the game more exciting, because the game was already a blowout, starting to get to a blowout at that point. But uh, Caitlin Clark being crowned as the new savior of women's basketball and WNBA basketball specifically, because she already had been that for the NCAA basketball with the hype that they gave her in the promotions. We get it. Her being all on TV all day with the commercials, with the State Farms, the Gatorades, the Nikes. We get all of that. Matter of fact, I was at Hy-Vee the other day, and her face is on a cereal box for Hy-Vee. So she has a Hy-Vee ad too. So, which makes sense because she played basketball in Iowa, and Hy-Vee is based out of Iowa. So it all makes sense. But we get it. You're the face of all these things, and you become the brat of the league. You're becoming above reproach. You can do no wrong in your eyes. But this game, you still have a lot of ways to go to prove yourself and to do these things. So it's a little premature for all of this, for all of this, for this attitude that you have. And she gets to wipe her hands clean, and people just see it that way, and nobody is noticing the underlying tones that she's being set. And some of this, I believe, has to do with her relationship with Taylor Swift. She's been seen in skybox at the Chiefs games, of course, you know, at the Chiefs games with Taylor Swift, supporting Travis Kelsey, of course. But is this new fame starting to go to her head? Is she starting to get ahead of herself or get what they so called big headed? Is she starting to get that? Because she's not coming off humble in any kind of way. She's coming off as like, I know I'm a star. You need me. This game can't be taken away from me. This is why the way she's treating things. And it's more about a rivalry. It's about privilege and it's about entitlement. She thinks she's entitled to everything, which, she has, we have to give her credit for putting women's basketball where it is on the forefront, putting especially college basketball where it is, but even bigger so, WNBA, because it's been on the radar for a long time, had small points of ascension, but she sped up the process a little bit, especially with the coverage and looks that she's getting. And it's also, and ultimately it'll be good for the league, but you should still be humble in the way that you approach things, because we know these things can be taken away. The greatest players in the world have lost it all, on their way up. If you haven't gotten there, especially, it's easier to lose it because they can take that away, especially if they can make you expendable. Now, that's the big thing is expendability. Right now, she's not expendable because she's the sole star. She's the biggest draw. I don't think she's the best player. Asia Wilson is still that. Unfortunately, she doesn't have the pieces that Caitlin Clark has, but we know that Asia Wilson is the best player. She gets the same amount of endorsements and things like that, just about. But nevertheless, Caitlin Clark has been doing a lot of gaslighting people and luring people into actions of, like, making her the victim. I don't know if that's by design through the league or whatever, but it's crazy that she's been throwing rocks and hiding her hands. You have to be able to be humble in some kind of ways. Now, if any other celebrity did this or artist did this or a player did this, especially, you know, uh, like if a brother did this or a sister did this, if Asia Wilson acted this way, she would have become the public nuisance and she would have been out of the league probably. Kennedy Carter got blackballed out of the league, I believe. And this is issues that you can have when you are not the star like Caitlin Clark is. And it's unfortunate that some people can act this way and some don't. But that's just how the world works. We see that now in politics and things like that. But she always give these PC answers, usually like a Tom Brady, but then she doesn't take any accountability for her actions. She always blames society or she blames other things, and she actually slides under the radar. And it's kind of amazing to see because you didn't think people can get away with things like this, but we're starting to see that now more into society. But she's a long way to go to live up to that hype, and she should just play the game and play the game the right way instead of making all this scrutiny. I don't know if she's just trying to sell a product or what, but it's just definitely off putting for me. But as always, until next time, I'll see you next time.